So this video will show you how to use an oscilloscope to read the values off of the frequency valve. I've just posted a bigger photo of using a full-size scope. I can't remember how much this big scope is, but you can actually do it on a small cheap scope. So this is the Zoe ZT702S. These things are about £60 off of eBay, not eBay, off AliExpress. I think there might be a newer version of this, but they're cheap and cheerful, but they're great for car diagnostics. So the scope is hooked up to the diagnostic connector. I've got a wire from the Lamda sensor, so I'm going to be grounding this connector and also putting a 1.5 volt battery on there to simulate a lean and a rich condition. I'm also going to be pressing the full throttle switch, which is here, so when that switch is hit, it richens up the mixture. I've got a switch here. This is connected to the RPM relay. It's connected from brown to purple and white and purple and yellow and red. White and purple is the fuel pump and yellow and red is the Lamda ECU. So when I turn this on, it'll energise both the fuel pump and the Lamda circuit. So I'll switch that on. You can see straight away it goes into its default, effectively either fault mode, as if it was disconnected, or if we're waiting for the Lamda sensor to warm up. So you can see that's approximately a 50% duty cycle. If I take the Lamda sensor and I now earth it and try and keep it steady. So that's the ECU thinking that the Lamda sensor's reading lean, so it's changing it over to maximum rich. Just disconnect that. I'm now going to put a 1.5 volt battery. So I'm just going to put the tip of the 1.5 volt battery, so I'm going to drive 1.5 volts into the Lamda sensor. I'm just going to earth it on the manifold. So this will make it think that the engine's running rich. So it tries to lean it out. So it turns the frequency valve down to the minimum possible value. And if I remove the battery, it goes back to the default. The full throttle switch is designed to richen the mixture up. So you'll see that it will increase the duty cycle, which effectively richens the mixture up. So you'll see it change. So that's the full throttle switch hit. Off, on. Oh, so it's run to about 60% duty cycle, I'd say, and that's about a 50% duty cycle. So you can use a pretty cheap oscilloscope rather than that expensive oscilloscope to measure what the frequency valve is and what they generally call a setting the dwell. You're not setting the dwell. Dwell relates to the ignition, the points and the ignition timing, but they use a dwell meter to measure this duty cycle. What we're actually interested in is the duty cycle. Let's play around with that a bit more. So that's grounding the sensor. That's so I'm grounding, so it's going to full rich. And that's standard default. So that's the visual interpretation of what you're doing when you're setting the dwell. All you're doing is looking for basically the mark space ratio. Happy Delorean.